3 weeks ago, I made a video talking about Bungie's newest title, their extraction shooter, Marathon, and how I thought that despite all the promotional material that they've been putting out and they've been touting up, that I feel that Marathon is off to a not so good start, and Bungie's going to be putting this title on the back foot. Well, it turns out that myself and a lot of the people were right about that, especially considering the recent controversies that have been surfacing up at the time of this recording. I think it's safe to say that I was probably a little too nice on Bungie regarding Marathon in my previous video, and then after this controversy surfaced, and especially after the live stream, yeah, I think I'm probably going to be a little bit more critical and a little bit more harsher in this video. So, yeah, there's no possible future for Marathon to have any success, and Bungie not lasting any longer. That's just my opinion, but let's get right into it, shall we? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. My name is Makini90, artist, journeyman, and illustrator. Welcome you to another video here on the Makini Draws channel. Hope you all are doing well today, and we have a lot to go over, and I got a lot of choice words to say about the current state of Bungie and their upcoming title, Marathon. Now, to basically get started with, and I want to kind of introduce everyone to essentially the ever since what happened since the last video, basically. Since the video that I made 3 weeks ago, Marathon has had its closed alpha, and the receptions have been from what I've been seeing around town, has been very mixed. Player counts had topped at 7,000 on Steam, but then started to dip real quickly, and from the initial impressions and reception, the game sounds like it's definitely not ready for prime time. It definitely feels that, this is a tough market to crack, and this is a very harsh market to crack, and I'm referring to the extraction shooter genre. Since then, they've been planning the next alphas. They've been planning, their development. Working on development, essentially. Sorry about that. They've been planning, the next alphas, the next betas, and getting ready for the September release date for Marathon. However, there has been a lot of controversy, and one of the biggest ones happened basically this week at the time of this recording. Anyway, we're going to get right into it, and we're going to get it through the kind of a log through all the controversies as well regarding Bungie and why I feel the way I feel regarding Marathon and the studio as a whole. So, without further ado, if you guys can, of course, if you guys enjoyed this video, smack that like button, make it jiggle, smack that subscribe button, make it jiggle. Let's get into the main controversy. This one has gone viral. This one has surfaced all across the internet, and everybody, and I mean everybody, is not happy with Bungie, especially when it's been surfaced, especially when it's been noted that this isn't Bungie's first time doing this. Of course, all links to everything in the description. You guys have heard the stories. Artist, graphic designer, N2 goes by Anti-Real on Twitter. I will put her links in the description as well. I'll put everything I'm talking about, I will put in the links down in the description. Has made an accusation that Bungie has stolen their artwork for the design of, basically for the entire design aesthetics of Marathon, and she actually has proof of it. I'll post the receipts as well, but let's go ahead and get started with the first tweet, basically. The first tweet, and it came out on May 15th, the Marathon Alpha released and its environments are covered with assets lifted from the poster designs that I made back in 2017. Bungie, of course, is not obligated to hire me when making a game that draws overwhelmingly from the same design language that I've refined for the last decade. But clearly my work was good enough to pillage for ideas and plaster all over their game without any pay or attribution. And if you can look at some of the side-by-side photos that I'm putting up on screen, yeah, it's clear that they did take some, they're clearly accusations of just stolen artwork, and we'll get into further what Bungie's response was as well. I don't have the resources nor the energy to spare to pursue this legally, but I've lost count of how many number of times a major company has deemed it easier to pay a designer to imitate or steal my work than write me an email, basically. Sorry about that. In 10 years, I have never made a consistent income from this work, and I am tired of designers from huge companies moodboarding, and parasiting my designs while struggling to make a living. One of the very interesting things about this is that Reaction Andy on Twitter replied to this. I see that Joseph Cross also follows you. Is there any insight you can give about the connection there? And two responds, he's followed me for a few years, and of others from Bungie, and I've never had any communication. What he's referring to is Joseph A. Cross, who is the art director franchise art director for Marathon at Bungie. This is, well, first off, this is another art director that we got to bring up again because regarding the whole situation with Matt Hansen and stuff like that. But that doesn't help that Bungie has been stealing. Bungie has had a history of stealing artwork from artists and using their used for promotional material, used for in-game material, and not even actually crediting the artists as well. And we're going to get into that. But one thing I do want to share with you, and I have links to Anti-Real's portfolio in the description as well, and we just want to take a quick glance. This is their graphic design work, the stuff that they've been making for the past 10 years and such like that, and you can clearly see the comparisons between what she's been creating and the aesthetics for Marathon, the minimalistic industrial design. From a personal standpoint, looking at her portfolio, I got to say I prefer the design aesthetics that she's done with her own work compared to what we see in Marathon, honestly. It just something about Marathon's art style, just it hits and misses with me. It's a very hit and miss. Yet I look at this and I see where they took their ideas from. They see where the inspiration come from, but I can also see where they technically did steal the artwork from as well. And for me personally, I love looking at this. I absolutely love looking at this because it reminds me of old school, early PlayStation 1, where it was heavy emphasized on sci-fi, where games that were heavily emphasized on sci-fi, using, of course, drum and bass, a lot of drum and bass back in the day. A lot of this reminds me so much of the first, I want to say, Wipeout 2097, Wipeout XL in the US, and Wipeout 3 specifically, with especially with Wipeout 3, where they're very minimalistic, utilizing a very minimalistic design aesthetics. This looks like something that you would see in an early Wipeout game, basically. Like, it would be created by the Designers Republic. And I love looking at this. This is very, very clean, very imaginative, very immersive, this type of design work that is really, really amazing to show. Really, really amazing to see. So I have a link to Anti-Real's portfolio in the description. Please check that out. That is some beautiful, absolutely beautiful design work. Now, in regards to Bungie, they are in hot water with this. They are in serious hot water with this, in fact. The fact that Joseph Cross, of course, he puts in, in this pinned comment, he puts in, a thread of, a lot of the design influences that created with Marathon. However, the fact that they stole the assets from Anti-Real into and not crediting them as at all, and kind of playing off this excuse of using a third party like design firm to come up with the designs and the visual aesthetics for Marathon. I can see where the influences are, but something really, really doesn't. It's so much of a hit and miss with me in terms of the use of the minimalistic industrial aesthetics that you see there, because there's some things that I really like. There's some of the graphics and graphic design that I really like, some of the typography I like. However, and there really is a pseudo, when I look at the promotional material, especially on Joseph Cross's Twitter page, it's very reminiscent of old school PS1 like promotional material, basically. It very reminds me so much of that. However, I am not a fan of the character designs. I'm very mixed on the character designs, where I think that there's too much of elements that just clash way too much with each other and not complementing each other, where it doesn't feel as coherent as it feels like it really needs to be. And that's just my personal opinion. And I went further into detail on a recent Mockety Live episode that I do on Sundays as well. However, Bungie is in complete hot water with this, because they received numerous backlash. This went completely viral, and unfortunately, this is not Bungie's first rodeo regards to stolen artwork, because they have a long history of it. I'm going to bring this up from Smash JT's website. Go ahead and check Smash JT out, especially his YouTube channel. Links in the description. The fourth time is now the pattern of theft. This is not Bungie's first offense either. They were sued allegedly, and we're going to get to the lawsuit as well. They were called out and caught red-handed, caught 4K, ripping off artwork for Destiny. Promotional material for the first Destiny, Destiny 2, the Nerf gun situation as well. The Nerf gun situation, Tofu Rabbit, that called them out, stealing basically their work for a design of their Nerf gun material. And essentially just a history of promotional material for Destiny and Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 that they were caught red-handed. Many in those instances, they did have to, settle with the accuser, settle with the artist, making sure that they're compensated for it, that they're credited for it. And they kept saying that, this was not entirely us. This was the work of a third design firm. This was the intern. This was this, that, or the third. But I never really got the sense that, and especially when it came to their live streams, when they actually addressed the art theft situation, they admitted that, yes, they did steal artwork from artists. And not crediting them, but I never got a sense that they actually take any form of like an accountability for it, though. I feel like there are too many utilizing too many scapegoats at this point, and they kept saying that they'll do better, but that's not the case. Because if you're continuing to do this over and over again, how are people going to trust you? Like, honestly, how are people going to trust you at this point? Yeah, I know, I'm raising my voice. I'm just, it's kind of infuriating. And especially in regards to, and I want to bring this oversized content, that Bungie is currently in legal trouble right now. They're currently in legal trouble on top of the layoffs that we watched, all witness went down last year with, a good portion of Bungie staff laid off, while the head of Bungie was bragging about his car collection. And even bringing employees to show off his car collection before they got fired. this, God, I don't know what's going on with Bungie, but basically, the the legal trouble that they're also in is one that's they're gonna lose basically, because Bungie, and especially Destiny 2, has been known for content vaulting, basically taking DLC and content that used to be a part of Destiny 2 and putting them in the vault. And they're getting sued for it. This is coming from Paul Tassi of Forbes, back from early this month. Bungie's in the middle of what seems to be, like, it's on face, a pretty far-fetched lawsuit filled by a man who believes the story lore aspects of Destiny 2 were stolen from a work he posted on WordPress before Destiny 2 launched. But now an attempt to show the court that the concepts being cited in what like with Destiny 2 Red War, Curse of Osiris DLC are different than his Bungie has hit a snag. And honestly, a very funny one. Essentially, there are two DLCs, Red War and Curse of Osiris DLC, which are not available for purchase anymore. They vaulted them, and they're not even available in the Destiny service and such like that. Well, apparently they were accused of the stories for both of those DLC campaigns were taken from sci-fi stories on WordPress, and they got thrown into a lawsuit for it. And because they don't have access to the Red War and Curse of Osiris and Warmind DLCs as well, because those are not available to the players, because they've been vaulted, the judge said that wasn't good enough and rejected Bungie's motion to dismiss. So this is very hot water, especially when it comes to Destiny 2, because Bungie has a history of removing content that customers actually paid for. You can see where the trust in Bungie, where the trust in Destiny 2, and especially with their upcoming Time Marathon, is starting to whinge. And where I feel that in my previous video, maybe I was a little too kind on them at this point. It's looking at this, and they did a whole live stream where on Friday where they got ripped to shreds. They got ripped to shreds in the comments. They tried to address the stolen art controversies, everything going on behind the scenes with Bungie and such like that. And it feels like too much of a tipping toes, tipping around eggshells, trying not to say the quiet part out loud, trying not to take any form, or in this case, not feeling like they're taking any form of accountability. And it makes me wonder when I look at this, and I know that Legendary Drops video made a good point on this. I get the sense that this Marathon remake feels more like a Sony mandate, because Sony are so desperate into getting an actual live service hit. And it feels like the developers of Bungie didn't want to make this game. Understand this, that you're in a crowded market. Well, it's not just a crowded market, but the extraction shooter market is a very harsh one. And it's very harsh space to be in, especially with the nature of extraction shooters being there. And you have serious competition, so you're going to be chewed up and spat out if you don't get your shit right. And I'm supposedly for cursing, but clearly they're not, especially when you look at rival competition with Arc Raiders basically doing the opposite of what Marathon is doing right now. Arc Raiders has had their beta test recently, and the reception on Arc Raiders is much more positive than Marathon right now. So, not only is Bungie on the back foot with their upcoming title, but I get the sense that Marathon is not going to do well, and I think it might end up spelling doom for this beloved studio. I'm gonna be serious when I say that, and if I'm wrong, okay, I will open up and admit that I'm wrong. But looking at everything that has been going on, especially these past couple of days, what kind of trust is there left at Bungie? What kind of trust is there for the new studio? This isn't the same Bungie that made the juggernauts at Halo, Halo 2, Halo 3, Wars, ODST, you name it. This is not that same team. And granted, if you look at the Downfall of Bungie video, which I'll put in the link in the description, there was a lot of serious crunch time. A lot of, decisions that were made, especially at the higher ups, that lead to Bungie in this state. Despite the fact that they gave us truly all-time classics. Pioneers of console first-person shooters, basically. So yeah, I'm honestly, it's just honestly shameful to look at. You know what I mean? I see no hope in this. And with Sony, and I get the sense that Sony is breathing down their neck because they're so friggin' desperate to ride on this live service. Ride this live service train desperate to try to get a live service hit, to try to get their own, like, Fortnite, as successful as the level of Fortnite. But what they're doing, what Sony is doing, and what Bungie is doing, is creating potentially the next Concord. And you guys know damn well that Sony, that Bungie, that anyone cannot afford another Concord. They cannot afford another live service disaster. Do I think Marathon will fare better than Concord? Yes, I do. But that doesn't hinder the fact, that doesn't take away the fact that, what the hell is Bungie doing? Like, what are you doing? Seriously. So yeah, I'm a little harsh on this one because, one, you expect better from this, but the fact of the matter is that they've stolen art 4 freaking times at this point. So trust should be completely thrown out the window. Not only that, into Anti-Real, I'm gonna be honest with you, they need to lawyer up. Yes, they've said that Bungie, Bungie said in the live stream that they're contacting with Anti-Real into, they're gonna sell this, they're gonna find a way to sell this so that both parties are happy. But honestly, if I were Anti-Real, if I were into, I would lawyer up. I would put a lawsuit against them. Because if they're pulling this kind of shit, and especially with the history that they have been doing this over and over again, despite them, constantly saying, we're not going to do this again. We promise we're not going to do this again. This was not us. This was not directly us. This was part of a design firm or the team that we hired or an intern. Y'all keep doing it. At some point, it's got to stop. At some point, Bungie, you guys gotta look in the mirror. You guys gotta look and realize we fucked up big time. And that there is no future with Marathon. And that there's no hope with us. I'll keep an eye on this. I will keep a close eye on this. But what I'm looking at the current state of Marathon right now, what I'm looking at is potentially another Concord. And that's something they can't afford. Yes, that is a harsh thing to say, but when it comes to a developer like Bungie, and especially when we have especially when it's been basically, the internet has been recording their downfall since, it's just sad. And it's just kind of shameful to look at, man. Sorry, sorry if I'm being a little harsh. It's just, I expected better. And I think a lot of people expected better. And I think it's a case that you clearly didn't learn from your mistakes. You didn't learn from anything. And how much of people's patience are going to have with you, especially when people are not, like, I said this in a previous video, people are just not, the live service bubble is bursting. And in my opinion, this is the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that goes to the industry as a whole. And you would think that Sony would get the memo on this one, but clearly not. You think Bungie would get the understanding on this, but clearly not. So that's how I see it. That's how I see the state of Marathon right now. Bungie, you got to address it. Bungie, you got to. I don't think they can fix this right. I really don't. So we'll see. And they're likely going to have to delay. I think that probably the only sensible option at this point is to delay Marathon for another year, maybe another year and a half, until it's actually ready, until they really and decide, do they really want to go this extraction shooter route? Do they really want to go this live service route? Do they really want to go there? Some people were asking, would they have to do a complete design aesthetic overhaul of Marathon at this point, since now they admitted they accused of stealing art? And that would mean they would have to basically cancel the game and have to start fresh. And that Sony put a lot of money into this title, that Bungie put a lot of money into this promotion. So we'll see. But I'm just not going to be nice anymore regarding this title. I'm just not going to be nice regarding Bungie. And it's a damn shame at this point. So anyway, that's my thoughts. What are yours? Sound off in the comments below. Especially tell me if I'm being a little too harsh on them. Personally, I feel like I'm not being harsh enough. Anyway, links to everything are in the description. Smack that like button, make it jiggle. Smack the subscribe button, make it jiggle. Massive thank you to everyone in the Cute, Sexy, and Fun Nation. I really appreciate all of you guys' incredible support. If you want to get access to exclusive art drops that I do every 2 months for my channel members, join the CSF Nation for as low as $1 a month. You are in excellent company, and of course, I thank you all for the incredible, and I mean the incredible support. Of course, follow me over on Twitter, Newgrounds, Etsy shop. We're trying to get to 6K before the end of this year, and there's going to be plenty, and I mean plenty more stuff for me to cover throughout this year as well. So, of course, I thank you all for watching. I'm Maki90. I'm Maki90, artist, German, illustrator, and I'll see you all next time for another video. Until then, stay cute, stay sexy, have fun, take care, much love. Never apologize for wanting attractive women in your media, especially in your video games. Always credit your artists. Always credit sources. Always give credit to them. Don't just... It's not a good look, especially in an industrial level like Bungie. Especially on a higher level, especially on a AAA level, to do that kind of shit. Sorry for cursing again. Anyway, above all else, never stop drawing.